Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video we have my Game Week 6 team selection. It's another tight turnaround for this deadline, but then we are back to normal. We'll discuss my team, my transfer plans, my watch list. We're going to have a bit of a chat about captaincy because it's another tricky decision this week, and we'll also look ahead to future weeks because the wildcard is fast approaching. If you are enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So before we move on to Game Week 6, I thought we'd just briefly, as we usually do, review Game Week 5, and it went very well for us. We got 86 points, which is a total points of 371, and before the Manchester United-Leicester game, because I'm recording this just before that game to get it out for you in the morning, I'm currently at about 21k, but that is before auto subs and before the Leicester-Manchester United game. So assuming a couple of the players from Manchester United-Leicester that are slightly higher owned, such as a Rashford, get something, and after auto subs, I reckon we'll be sat maybe around sort of 30 to 35k by the end of the game week. I'd say at the very highest about 40, 45k, and it's another green arrow regardless of what happens tonight, and it's a really good start to the season. But if you remember, I had a very similar start to the season last year. I got to about 30k within 4 or 5 game weeks, and then we just struggled to break ahead, and we just sort of stagnated around that rank. So I'm going to try my very hardest this season, for you guys and for me, to try and push into that top 10k and try and win FPL. It's been a good start, but I'm definitely not getting carried away, and I know just 2 or 3 bad weeks and I could be down in the millions. So if you are ranked sort of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million, there are lots of content creators and top managers that are in a similar position to you. We are still tightly bunched together, and there are still plenty of weeks to make up rank. So I would not stress too much about rank now. If you've got a good rank like myself, then feel free to show it off. But if you've got a bad rank, I wouldn't necessarily stress over it. And just remember that a couple of good weeks or a couple of well-played chips later on in the season, and you can make up like 50, 60, 70 points. So I definitely wouldn't stress this early on. Game Week 5 in general, it was all dominated by the captaincy discussion. Remember, in my video and my live stream, I've pretty much been on Haaland captaincy for all of that. I was relatively confident in a start, and as I said, if he starts, he's the best captaincy option. So I'm glad that actually happened, because normally I'm not very opinionated on different captaincy choices. I try and just give you my unbiased opinion. I think I did that, but I think I made a relatively compelling case that Haaland was going to start. So I'm delighted that he did, because I would have felt very bad if he didn't. He blanked and Salah hauls. But it wasn't an easy decision by any means, but I was confident on Haaland, and for him to get a 17-pointer, for him to get another hat-trick back-to-back was absolutely wonderful. And listen, if you own Salah and Haaland, but you captain Salah, it was only a 7-point difference between Salah and Haaland, so it's really not the end of the world, assuming you own both. Of course, if you don't own Haaland, you've now got the tricky decision of whether to bring him in or not. Let me know down below if you're in that position. I'd probably just bite the bullet and get him in, because he looks like an absolute cheat code in the Premier League. The transfers for me was Estupiñán in and Harrison in for James and Andreas. We did that live on the deadline stream only a few minutes before the deadline. I was very close to bringing in Dunk, and I was very close to bringing in Rodrigo as well. Dunk got an own goal and Rodrigo got injured. So I, as a content creator, am not someone that says I'm very skillful. I don't try and pretend I'm an amazing manager. I will acknowledge when I've been very, very lucky. I'll acknowledge that. And with captaincy, I genuinely think that was a good decision. I think that was a skilled decision. I think I made the choice to bet against the higher expected minutes to Salah, and I predicted a Haaland start. But the transfers was definitely a little bit lucky. I very nearly went for Duncan. Like I said, I very nearly went for Rodrigo, and ended up Estupiñán and Harrison didn't do particularly well, but they were better transfers, at least for this specific game week. Cancelo got a 12 points, which was really nice. It was one of the only times you'll see Cancelo get a clean sheet goal and no bonus points, which was pretty crazy, but it was just due to the amount of goals scored, and obviously Stones picking up bonus as well. Salah, like I said, got a 10-pointer. Martinelli, 10-pointer, was really nice. Continues to outperform and outscore Saka, which I think we thought Martinelli would get close, but I don't think many of us thought he would absolutely batter Saka the way he has with respect to FPL points. Pascal Gross and Diaz blanking, and then Jesus getting 6 points, but again, feels pretty unlucky that Jesus didn't get more. So if you captain Jesus, you can maybe feel a little bit hard done by. Every week he looks so good. I'm really glad I didn't need the bench this week, because we got a 1, 0, 0, and a -1. So that was the way Game Week 5 went. Like I said, 86 points. I'm over the moon with that. I'm doing very well at the start of the season, but I want to kick on. I don't want to just rely on the good start. I want to continue to improve, continue to do well from Game Week 6 and beyond. So let's take a look at the team and how it currently looks. Before we jump into looking at my Game Week 6 team, don't worry, this is not an ad. This is not a sponsored section. This is me, during my PhD, conducting research on the effect of fantasy football, specifically in this case, Fantasy Premier League, on mental health. We've already carried out 3 studies. One of those has already been published, as you can see on your screen right now, exploring the mental health of individuals who play fantasy football. You can see I've highlighted my name there. I am a co-author on that paper, and I am part of a team that are researching whether fantasy football has a positive or negative effect on our mental health. And for the elements that it has a positive impact on, such as being able to escape from everyday life, build social relationships, etc. We want to try and emphasize those and make sure that managers are paying attention to that and try and bring out those positive elements. And the potentially negative elements, we want to find out why is it having a negative impact on our mental health. As I know some of you, if you've had a bad week recently, you can probably understand, and maybe try and put some solutions and things in place that can reduce the negative aspects of fantasy football on mental health. So this is incredibly important research that we're conducting. And basically, this section is just to say there is a link in the description. It will be right at the top of the description. The first link in the description is a questionnaire that we are currently doing for our 4th study, looking at the effect of fantasy football on mental health. It's about a 20 to 30-minute questionnaire. Some people have completed it as quick as 15 minutes. Some people take a little bit longer if you need a bit of time to think about the questions. Please feel free to fill it in. If you are currently playing FPL, and I assume you are watching this video, it would massively help my PhD and also the research, and hopefully help fellow FPL managers as well. So there is a link in the description. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. But click that link, take 20 minutes of your time. It massively helps support me, and hopefully we'll continue to like I said, target those positive elements of fantasy football and mental health, and maybe try and reduce or put solutions in place to reduce the negative elements. But with all that being said, let's move on to looking at my Game Week 6 team. So we are currently lined up in a 3-5-2 for Game Week 6. As always, I will go through my team without any transfers having been made. And if we do make transfers, it will probably be on the deadline stream again tomorrow. So do tune into the deadline stream, as always, on a Saturday morning for the Saturday deadline. I've currently got 0.3 in the bank, and I've got 1 free transfer. That's because I made 2 free transfers last week to take out Andreas and James, which in hindsight maybe weren't the best transfers in the world. I'd quite like to have both of them in my team moving forward, especially James. And I brought in Estepinian, who you can see isn't in the starting 11 at the moment. And I also brought in Harrison as well. So we will discuss those transfers and discuss maybe if I do plan on using my 1 free transfer this week. So starting in goal, at the moment, this looks like the most likely place if I am to use my 1 free transfer, where I'll probably use it. So Ramsdale's not got an easy fixture against Manchester United. I don't necessarily think the Arsenal defence looks fantastic, but the underlying data is certainly not bad. It just feels like Ramsdale in particular, but Arsenal as a defence, just have a mistake in them every single game. I don't particularly think this is a good opportunity for a clean sheet against Manchester United. And anyway, as you can see, he is flagged, and I think there's a reasonable chance Ramsdale doesn't play. So at the time of me recording this, I don't have a definitive answer either way. I think Arteta said it was a muscle injury and that he would need to be assessed. I've been looking for an excuse or a reason to sell Ramsdale anyway, especially with Manchester United next. I don't think the next 3 fixtures are fantastic for a clean sheet for Arsenal. I do think there's possibility for maybe 1 or 2, but generally I do think there are some other keepers that might be worth targeting. So at the moment, if I do take Ramsdale out, which is looking like a reasonable chance I will, again, if he's confirmed out, I'll almost definitely do it. Even if he's not, and it's touch and go, I might make the move. I'm looking at Nick Pope, because the next 3 for Newcastle were fantastic. That would be a double up with Trippier, but as I'll discuss in a second, that might allow me to bench Trippier if I cover the Newcastle clean sheet with Pope. I'm looking at Henderson as well, because the next 3 for Nottingham Forest are absolutely fantastic, and Henderson is making a bucket load of saves at the moment. I've also got Sanchez and then Raya as well, who are probably the 2 more popular keepers. So those are the 4 that I'm currently considering, and there's a reasonable chance that I do use my 1 free transfer this week to take Ramsdale out. We'll discuss more of that in the final section when we look at my transfer plans. The 3 other defenders I'm extremely happy with, but I'm also really happy with the other 2 defenders who we'll discuss in a second, who are currently sat on my bench. We've got Trent against Everton. It was, again, another frustrating game where the Liverpool defence conceded. If you've still got Trent and Robertson, I do not blame you at all for wanting to shift at least one of them on, because they have been super disappointing. But we saw what Trent can do. I'm not going to sell Trent, because that 17-pointer that he picked up in Game Week 4, that's not even a particular fluke incident. We've seen Trent on so many occasions get double-digit hauls. So I would not necessarily ever really want to sell Trent unless I'm seeing that maybe across that half a season, if we continue to see poor defensive performances from Liverpool, then maybe I'd consider it. But the data's not even been that bad. Maybe they've been slightly unlucky to concede as many as they have, or at least lose the clean sheets that they have. So I'm happy keeping Trent for now. And I guess a similar situation with Cancelo. Obviously, they kept a clean sheet in Game Week 5, but they absolutely dominated that game. Generally, the City defence maybe conceded more goals than we would have expected so far this season. But once again, the data is strong. Cancelo popping up with a goal. I do feel slightly guilty, because I was telling you guys that his attacking output has just been non-existent this season. He's playing in a very deep inverted role where he's almost playing alongside Rodri a lot of the time. To be honest, he looked very similar even against Forest. He was still playing quite deep, still playing quite central, but he just pops up with an absolute banger on the edge of the box. So I don't think you can necessarily predict that, but it does, I guess, show the quality that Cancelo has. And because I don't really need the funds at the moment to make any upgrades to my attack or my midfield, because I've already got a benching headache, Cancelo will be staying for the foreseeable future. And like I said, I've got Trippier in there at the moment. He we were worried if he was going to be fit for game week 5. He obviously played, looked fairly decent. It looks like he's now going to be fit for game week 6. I do think this is a decent chance for a clean sheet against Crystal Palace at home. And to be honest, Newcastle impressed once again. So I am very happy to have a Newcastle player in my team over the next 3 fixtures. And Trippier in particular being on a lot of set pieces, free kicks, and playing in a good Newcastle defence. I'm very happy to be playing him. The issue I've got is that I want to play my other 2 defenders as well, which we'll get onto in a second. So that's the defence. Let's move on to the midfield. So we are currently rocking a 5-man midfield. And as you can see at the moment, and I am definitely not set on this, Salah does have the armband. So I think what I'll do is I'll discuss captaincy at the end once we've got Haaland in the team and we can discuss that, because I do have a few thoughts on it, but I'm certainly not as confident as I was in game week 5. But I'll do my best to discuss it, and I'm very interested to hear down below, who are you currently captaining and what is your justification for that? Is it Salah, Jesus, Haaland? Who is it? And why? Is it because you don't think Haaland's going to start? Or do you think he's going to start? How many minutes do you think he's going to get? Do you not think it matters? But we'll discuss all of that in a second. But Salah is definitely staying in my team. The fact that when Salah's not even performing well, he can pick up like 10 and 12 pointers. For me, I just like it. Like I said, even if I sold Salah, yes, you could maybe justify going from Salah to De Bruyne because he was benched in game week 5 and he looks good for a start in game week 6. So maybe you could say Salah to De Bruyne and captain him. That's a high upside play that I don't necessarily mind. But I don't really need to downgrade Salah because I don't even know where I would use the funds because I'm very happy with the rest of my team and I'm wildcarding soon in around game week 9, I believe. So for now, I'm happy keeping Salah, and at the moment he does actually have my armband, which we'll discuss in a bit more detail soon. Diaz also stays in my team. I do find it strange that people are now clamoring to buy Diaz. I do think he's been decent. His minutes are good. His data's probably up there with the best for the £8 million mid. So by all accounts, he's been a decent buy, and I'm glad I picked him over Robertson and over the other £8 million midfielders because he's done very well. But I certainly wouldn't be bringing him in now, I don't think. Jota is coming back very soon. Darwin is coming back. Firmino's looked very good as well. I mean, Harvey Elliott can play on the right. I don't think his minutes are anywhere near secure now with everyone coming back, especially Jota and Darwin. Darwin in particular, I do think throws a spanner in the work. I think it's very unlikely that they'll start with Firmino, Darwin and Salah. But especially when Jota's back, Darwin looking at as good as he did before he was obviously suspended. I think maybe Diaz's time is coming to an end. So if you've not yet made the move, I probably wouldn't be looking to bring Diaz in now. I don't necessarily think that means you should sell him if you own him. I'm probably not looking to sell this week, but I'm thinking maybe on my wild card, I probably won't have Diaz anyway. At the time of recording this, that's my general thoughts at the moment. So I'm happy owning him for now, but I do think his time is starting to come to an end, especially with respect to his expected minutes. I think they're going to drop massively. And then you can see the others. Martinelli looking consistently good. I don't think Manchester United defence is as bad as maybe some people are making out, but it's definitely probably like mid-table at best at the moment. I think we're slowly improving, but this is a good fixture for the Arsenal attackers. I've seen some people suggesting benching Martinelli or benching Jesus or Saka. I would not be benching any Arsenal attackers. Maybe Arsenal defenders, because it's Manchester United away at Old Trafford. Maybe you think Manchester United grab a goal, and if you've got someone better on the bench, maybe. I wouldn't be benching an Arsenal attacker against Manchester United, and that's coming from a Manchester United fan. So Martinelli is going to be staying in the starting 11. I've got Pascal Gross against Leicester. Leicester just do not look good defensively or from an attacking perspective. They honestly look like a relegation side, and especially with this being at home, knowing how good Brighton have been recently, again, going forward and in defence, they are genuinely, in my opinion, a top 8 side and arguably pushing towards sort of 7th and 6th in the Premier League. So by all accounts, I'm very, very happy to own Pascal Gross over the next few weeks, and especially against Leicester at home this week. I think it's a really nice fixture. And then the final player is Harrison. So I brought in Harrison last week, and I'm trying to not knee-jerk too much because, like I said, I've got players on the bench that I'd like to play, and a lot of people are saying bench Harrison. The positives from his performance is that he was still on, even though his delivery was terrible, he stayed on all set pieces pretty much, all corners in particular. So he took, it must have been about 7, 8, 9 corners. I don't have the stats, but he took loads of corners throughout that game. He was getting loads of crosses in. He got a few shots off as well. And Jesse Marsh in the interview post-match made a specific comment about how good Harrison looked and how he was trying to create chances. But his end product was genuinely horrific. It was one of the worst I remember seeing in the Premier League in recent years. Like every single cross, every single pass, every single shot just looked terrible. He actually gave the ball away, I think it was 43 times in game week 5. But he did whip in a beautiful cross to Rodrigo, who somehow missed the ball. And there were a few signs that he still does have that quality. So I think I still want to start him in game week 6. The fact that he was getting that many opportunities to even lose the ball and to create chances is normally a good sign. And Leeds, in my opinion, even with Rodrigo out, with Bamford now coming back in, and obviously Gelhardt being able to deputise, I still think they're a good attack, and I still think I want to have an attacker from Leeds in my team over the next few. So whilst I do have players on the bench that I want to start, for now, Harrison just about makes his way into the starting 11. Let's look at the two strikers, discuss the bench, and then talk about potential transfer plans. So we're going to discuss captaincy in 2 seconds, but firstly, I want to pose the most important question to you guys for this video to help with me. Who on earth would you bench in this team? I don't think I want to play the bench boost. I think I would have to sell Stansfield. I still don't think Ward is likely to keep a clean sheet, even though it's not a terrible fixture. And I just think there'll be better opportunities in the future. So bench boost is not in the question. I'm not going to be doing that. So at the moment, Nico Williams against Bournemouth at home and Estepinian against Leicester at home are both on my bench. But Bournemouth and Leicester are two attacks that I don't think look like ever scoring. They just don't look very good from an attacking perspective. I'm sure Leicester are going to score loads of goals against Manchester United tonight now that I've said that. But both, by all accounts, the data would suggest, and the eye test and everything would suggest that this is a decent chance for a clean sheet for both Williams and Estepinian. With Williams, yes, it's a decent chance for a clean sheet because it's Bournemouth, but Nottingham Forest have, by all accounts, been pretty poor defensively. They're considering just a bucket load of shots and chances. So I think there's a reasonable chance that's not a clean sheet. But his attacking data is so good, and Bournemouth are a fairly blunt attack. If he does keep a clean sheet and he gets some kind of attacking return, could be looking at a monster haul there. And I do think it's sooner rather than later with Williams that he's going to get some sort of either haul or just an attacking return. His data's been really good. Across the season, it's actually better than Robertson for expected goal involvement. So by all accounts, Nico Williams is showing very, very good underlying data. And I just do think at some point, I can just feel it coming that Williams is going to pop up with a massive haul. And this looks like a decent fixture to do that. And then Estepinian, Brighton are an elite defence by all accounts. Like this season, last season, Graham Potter has been working his magic with that Brighton defence. So it's a brilliant defence against a very, very blunt attack in Leicester at home. And he's got some attacking threat. He wasn't fantastic on the ball. I did watch most of the Brighton game against Fulham. He wasn't fantastic on the ball, but he was picking up some really promising positions. He was almost playing on the last man a lot of the time, more like a left winger than a left wing back. So I really want to start both Williams and Estepinian, but who on earth do I bench? I think a lot of people will probably suggest benching one of Harrison or Trippier, but Newcastle are, by all accounts, a much better defence than Forest, arguably an equal, maybe a slightly worse defence to Brighton, and I still think that's a good fixture. Crystal Palace have scored quite a few goals so far this season, and Zaha does look very good, so I could see Zaha wiping out the clean sheet there, but with his attacking potential, playing for a decent defence, I think I want to start Trippier. And like I said, I just think Harrison is still fantastic. He's going to be on most set pieces. He's still playing in a good Leeds attack. And yes, Brentford aren't a bad defence, but I still fancy him to maybe get something away at Brentford. So at the moment, Williams and Estepinian are on my bench, but I really don't want to bench them. So let me know down below, if you had my squad of 15, who would you bench? Who would you start? I'd massively appreciate the help from you guys down below. Then we've got Jesus. I'm not going to sell Jesus against Manchester United. I actually think that's a decent fixture, and he just looks so good. So the final decision, therefore, is captaincy. And like I said, as you can see at the moment, I've got my armband on Salah. But to be honest, during this video, even thinking about it, I may well switch that back to Haaland. I could then switch back to Salah. I feel like it might be a last minute thing. And it probably is going to come down to gut feeling. So I will have to maybe just do the coin flip trick to try and work out what is my gut feeling telling me. If you don't know about the coin flip trick, you flip a coin, heads is Haaland, tails is Salah. And when it's in midair, you think about what do I truly want? Or as you reveal it, you look at that almost that microsecond as you reveal, you'll feel maybe a bit of relief, or maybe you'll feel a bit like, oh, I want to do best of 3. If you feel like you want to flip again, it's probably the other one than what it lands on. If you're pretty satisfied with the result, that probably means that was your gut feeling anyway. So you feel free to use that. I call it the coin flip trick, but I might well end up doing that live on Deadline Stream tomorrow. At the moment, what I've done for now, just to maybe talk through it with you, is I've got a few points that maybe would suggest that Haaland starts. So I'm going to talk through the reasons that maybe he could start. I'm then going to talk through maybe the reasons that maybe he wouldn't start. And then we're just going to have a bit of a discussion around captaincy. Like, does it even matter? Should we just captain Haaland regardless? Maybe is the fixture better for one of them? What about the attacking data for the teams, etc.? So I'm going to discuss all of this stuff right here. So for reasons that maybe Haaland would start, he's a very, very good footballer and he's playing very well at the moment. Now, that might sound like a very obvious point, but a lot of the top managers, especially Klopp and Pep, talk a lot about momentum and rhythm and wanting to maintain that with players. When your marquee signing has just scored back-to-back hat-tricks in the Premier League and looks absolutely fantastic and has been able to come off early in both of those games, is there good justification to bench him? Even with the fixtures they've got coming up, if he's not played 90 minutes and he doesn't do maybe as much running as some other strikers in the Premier League because City holds so much of the ball, he doesn't even need to press that much because City don't really give the ball away. So I'm not saying that Haaland doesn't do any running, but he maybe does less than some of the other strikers in the Prem. So start of the season, he's very, very good there's momentum. Does he need a rest? He's not playing 90 minutes. We've not had Champions League football yet. We're not in the back end of the season. Does he need a rest? Maybe not. Maybe when Pep was saying when we have games every 3 days, Haaland will not start. Maybe he was thinking more about in the coming games towards Christmas time, or maybe in the back end of the season. So maybe we're clutching at straws there, but I genuinely probably think that he doesn't need to rest. But that being said, we'll discuss this in the next bit in a second, but maybe it's more precautionary. You don't want to rest a player once you've run them into the ground. Especially with a player like Haaland, you probably want to rest them before they start to get fatigued. So that is something to think about. The other reason that maybe he would start is that Alvarez did play 90 minutes, and obviously Haaland come off early. So with Haaland not playing 90 minutes, and with Alvarez playing 90 minutes, you would think that probably one of them would start against Villa. That's Alvarez's first start, and whilst he looks fantastic and he didn't look particularly fatigued, there's maybe something to suggest that if you're going to start one of them, you start the one that's number one, your marquee sign-in and the most expensive and just playing absolutely fantastically and maybe wanting to maintain that rhythm with Haaland. But equally, some people have been framing it that Alvarez needed minutes in his system. And the fact that Alvarez played 90 minutes maybe would suggest that he's going to start again. Maybe Pep's trying to get some minutes under his belt, so maybe he'll start once again. Maybe, just maybe, they'll start Haaland and Alvarez once again because it worked so well. The reason I would maybe say that isn't the case is Pep did make some comments about the reason he played Alvarez and Haaland together is because he thinks that having both of them on the pitch when teams play very deep, like a low block, it could be quite effective. Aston Villa don't play any sort of defence, to be honest, but they're not a particularly low block team. So, and the other reason would be one of them probably needs to start against Sevilla on Tuesday in the Champions League. So I doubt he's going to want to play both of them 3 games in a row, or either of them 3 games in a row particularly. So maybe he'll consider benching one against Villa and then benching the other one against Sevilla. So these are just some things to think about. Maybe we're overcomplicating this. Apologies if I am. And then the other thing to say is, well, he could just play and get 45 minutes, 60 minutes, and then come off early again. Again, I think when Pep says he's not going to play every 3 games, maybe that doesn't mean he's just not going to feature in one of those games. But maybe Pep was thinking, well, he's not going to play like every minute in every game. If he's coming off at 60, 70 minutes, I don't necessarily think that maybe he just starts all of them for now. Maybe he starts every game, comes off early, and that is Pep's idea of rest. So these are all maybe potential reasons that he would start. Potential reasons that he might not start. Firstly, KDB getting benched. KDB doesn't need a rest. KDB didn't look fatigued. KDB's injuries have been fairly good so far this season. That's a suggestion that even the very best players in that Man City team, such as Kevin De Bruyne, are capable of being rested, even when they're in good form. And Kevin De Bruyne has looked excellent this season. So the fact that even De Bruyne gets a rest makes me think, why would he play Haaland in 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row and not do the same with Kevin De Bruyne? Why is he giving Kevin De Bruyne a rest? So that's something to think about. Yes, Kevin De Bruyne hasn't been as good as Haaland. And yes, Kevin De Bruyne has played more minutes than Haaland because Haaland gets a lot of early subs. But that is still something to consider, that if KDB is going to get rest, why wouldn't he maybe do similar for Haaland? And the other thing, again, going back to Alvarez, is Alvarez looked incredibly capable. Yes, he was playing alongside Haaland, but maybe Pep thinks that after seeing that, you know what, I'll give him another start. I'll give Alvarez 60 minutes. And maybe Haaland comes off the bench, or maybe he gives Alvarez the full 90 and then rests Alvarez against Sevilla. So these are all things that could happen. The other reason that maybe he wouldn't get a start is he has to start against Spurs, right? He's going to start against Spurs. And I would argue that he doesn't have to start against Sevilla, but Pep is desperate for a Champions League with Man City, and I think that is going to be their priority. So I think he's got to almost start against Sevilla. You would expect him to. And I don't think Haaland's come to Man City to sit on the bench in the Champions League. So if he's played all of the games so far this season for City in the Premier League, he's going to start Sevilla and he's going to start Tottenham. Aston Villa looks like the easy time to give him a rest. It looks like the most logical, sensible time to give him a rest if he is going to need one. And I guess just finishing is basically putting that all together. Does it matter? I've seen a lot of people say, I don't care if he gets 10 minutes, I don't care if he gets 15, I don't care if he starts, and then if he doesn't feature at all, well, you get your vice captain anyway, I'm going to captain Haaland. I would prefer to have Haaland for 5-10 minutes than I would to have Salah for 80 or 90. For me, that is not true. Yes, we saw what Haaland could do, right? He got his first half hat-trick against Forest. I can't remember how many minutes it took exactly, but it didn't take a lot of minutes. So in a cameo, yes, by all accounts, what we've seen so far would suggest that Haaland could get a captain, could get a haul in a cameo. That being said, I think if I'm using my logical, sensible part of my brain and I'm trying to give you the best advice, I would 99 times out of 100 back Salah over 80 to 90 minutes than I would any other player in world football over 10 to 15 minutes. I just don't think that's it. For me, maybe Haaland for 45 over Salah for 80. Maybe you're starting to get something there, but I would still back the player that's expected to get the higher minutes. The reason I captained Haaland in game week 5 is because I was fairly confident of a Haaland start. And if he starts, he's probably likely to get around 60, 65. Salah gets maybe 80, 85, maximum 90. I think I backed Haaland with a much easier fixture. He was playing against Nottingham Forest, remember. Salah had Newcastle. That's why I backed Haaland in game week 5. With game week 6, I would argue that potentially the slightly easier fixture is Everton. I would argue that I think there's maybe a slightly higher chance that Haaland is either rested or comes off even earlier. So putting that all together, maybe Salah is the slightly better captaincy choice this week. I know a lot of people disagree with that. Seeing back-to-back hat-tricks for Haaland, and especially in both games, the fact that he scored both hat-tricks in such a condensed period of time, and the fact that Aston Villa haven't been great recently, Gerrard looks like he could be sacked. I understand there are loads and loads and loads of reasons to captain Haaland, and I may well do so. I'm genuinely very split about this right now. I'm just trying to justify maybe or explain why I do think Salah is a decent captaincy shout this week, and why at the moment at least, he's currently got my armband. I do think it's a better fixture. I think Salah is still a fantastic player, still on pens, still going to get the extra point for a goal. And I just think his minutes are just so secure. So in a week where I'm really not sure about a Haaland start, maybe Salah's the better choice. I'm very sorry for talking about that for such a long period of time, but I just think it's such a key decision this week, and it probably will be a key decision every week. I wanted to do my best to try and explain and justify my decision-making so far, but do join me for my deadline stream, because in the deadline stream, we'll be making the transfers and also discussing captaincy in a bit more detail. Final thing for today is just look at some potential transfers and just look how the team looks set up for game week 6, 7, and 8 before we plan on playing our wildcard in game week 9. So guys, just to finish off, we're just going to look at how the team looks over the coming weeks and maybe look at some of the projected points as well for this week, which might help us with some of our benching headaches. The site that I'm currently using is Fantasy Football Hub, who we have partnered with for the season. For as little as £2.10 per month, you can get access to pretty much every feature on the site, and there are some other membership options there as well. It's genuinely a fantastic site. So second link in the description, just below the mental health link, there will be a 30% off link to Fantasy Football Hub. Use that link. It does support the channel, but also you get access to what, in my opinion, is the best tool in fantasy football at the moment, and it's this My Team feature from Fantasy Football Hub. It's got everything you want. It's got fixtures, it's got points projections, it's got the optimization feature, which will help you sort out your bench and your captaincy. It's got a game week rating, it's got team rating. You can look ahead to future weeks. You can literally get everything you need in one specific place, one single place with this My Team feature. So this is the way the team currently looks. Just to sort of help with the benching headache, you can see the projected points for each player, or you can just click the optimize button. What the optimize button does, as I'll just show you here, is it will sort out your team for you. It will play the players that it thinks you should play based on projected points. And it will bench the players that it thinks you should bench. And it will also sort out your captaincy. So as you can see here, at the moment, Ward is just about favoured to Ramsdale, but I might make a goalkeeper transfer anyway. And here, they've actually benched for me Nico Williams and Harrison. So I don't know if you can see this on your screen. Harrison is 3.6 projected points. And then Williams, Estepinian, and Trippier, all three of them are on 3.7 projected points. So the Fantasy Football Hub algorithm is basically saying that Estepinian, Trippier, and Williams are all equally good options. And then maybe just a little bit below that is actually Harrison. But like I said, at the moment for me, I still think I want to play Harrison. I'm lining up in this 3-5-2. Let's just say that I make a transfer right now. If I was forced to make one right now, it probably would be Sanchez, but it could be Sanchez, it could be it could be Henderson, I should say, it could be Raya, it could be Pope. Like I said, there are lots of decent options. Let's just say I make that move just that we can see for future weeks, and I go into game week 6 with this team. Going into game week 7, we've got an 89% game week rating, so the team's still looking really, really good here, and 92% over the coming game weeks as well. If I just optimize for game week 7, the team sets up like this. So we've got Harrison against Nottingham Forest at home. We've got the two Brighton boys against Bournemouth. This is a really nice fixture. Plus Sanchez. We'd have triple Brighton against Bournemouth, which looks like, again, the team to target at the moment. We've then got Nico Williams against Leeds and Trippier against West Ham on the bench. So the bench continues to be very strong as well. And to be honest, I don't think I would need to make a transfer here. So what the current plan is to use one transfer in game week 6 to switch out Ramsdale, roll the transfer in game week 7, which leaves me going into game week 8, which is the week before I plan on wildcarding, with 2 free transfers. Now, what that will allow me to do is take 2 one-week punts. So let me just optimize again, because I'm actually going to be bringing Trippier in, and I've got Nico Williams against Fulham on the bench. At this stage, it does depend if, like, for example, Trent and Salah get a price rise in Diaz, because I might have money tied up in them. But realistically, I'm looking here, I might take out Trent for a 1-week punt and then bring him back in. I'm almost definitely going to take out Luis Diaz. I might bring in a Spurs player. I might bring in a Manchester United player. There are some teams with decent fixtures that we might want to target. And it's basically going to be just a 1-week punt, because after this, I'll wildcard and bring in the players that I want anyway. So I think basically I think I'm committing to a Game Week 9 wildcard. And to be honest, it doesn't matter even if I do change my mind, because I don't think my transfer plan changes over Game Week 6 and Game Week 7. I think regardless of what happens, I don't need to make many transfers. It's only once we get to Game Week 8, I need to decide at the start of Game Week 8, am I going to wildcard in 9? Because if I'm not, then maybe I won't take out my Liverpool players, etc. Maybe I won't be taking 1 week punt. So by all accounts, the team's looking really good moving forward. Let me know down below what your dilemmas are for this week. Like I said, let me know who you're captaining. Let me know what your potential transfer plans are. And also give me a bit of an idea about when you plan on wildcarding. Always interested to hear your thoughts. So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 6 team selection, along with a very lengthy discussion about captaincy. I do hope that's helped you a little bit. Hopefully it's not confused you even further. Please do let me know, because it's the biggest decision this week. Who are you currently planning on captaining? Like I said, please do tune into the deadline stream tomorrow, because you're going to get to see who I end up captaining and what transfer I end up making as well. If you're enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're still watching this, and I know a lot of people do watch to the end, let me know you are someone that does watch to the end of the videos. Also, make sure to drop a like as well. We're continuing to try and smash 1,000 likes on every video, which is still crazy to me, but I do really appreciate the support. And make sure to subscribe, because we are on our way to 30,000 subscribers. Until next time, guys, which will be tomorrow for the deadline stream, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.